Hi, I'm Lisa Lacroix. Thank you for coming back to my channel, or welcome if you are here for the first time. On this channel, I share and learn and explore all things related to connection, communication, and relationships. So if you are here for that, thank you for joining me. And if you are here for the communication and speaking skills tips, there's a playlist here, and I'll put it down in the description. I want to talk about the male gaze. When you hear that phrase, if you are feminine, maybe there's an ick or a little discomfort in your body. If you are masculine, maybe there's a flicker of shame or self-judgment, because it's one of those complex human experiences that can get in the way of our compassion for each other, that can make it harder for us to connect and to appreciate each other's reality. Talking about the masculine in relationship to the feminine. So let's look at the male gaze in a more nuanced way. Let's talk about the term itself. The male gaze describes how women experience being looked at and often sexualized by men, historically sexualized. And that's what I want to get into a little more deeply. And by the way, please give me your comments as we go or at the end of the video, because I'm here for the communication. And as with all things, I'm wanting to explore and understand more deeply. So the male gaze in our culture has become a negative term. And there's reasons for that, because often women have experienced, when they are looked at by men, as a feeling of being invaded or feeling unsafe. The constant pressure that they either have internalized or that might be put on them to shape themselves into a version of their feminine that can be approved of by men, and then they experience being evaluated based on their appearance and having their sense of worth tied to how they look. So as a result, many women feel a sense of injury when it comes to the experience of the male gaze. They feel objectified or degraded, maybe even commodified. And so that history matters. That history shapes how the term is heard and how we experience it. So here is the dilemma for the masculine. For conscious and respectful men, this history creates a tension in them too. So what they hear is, the male gaze is bad, do not do it. And this video is inspired by a man I know sharing about how he once reconnected with his erotic energy, with the life force energy, and with being exposed to enlivenment and connection with women, that he began to notice his view of women being what he called the male gaze. And he started worrying about it, feeling like it had a bit of stickiness to it, and questioning his intent and his motivation and the impact he was having, wondering if he was crossing a line through how he was seeing women in the gym or wherever he came across. Here's the dilemma. Men, the masculine, wants to notice feminine beauty. It is innate. It is biological. It is natural for men to be moved by feminine beauty. They want to complement it. They want to feel that charge. They want to feel turned on by it. And it's not a bad thing. But here's the distinction we need to make. Let's look at the difference between the male gaze and a patriarchal gaze. They are two separate things, and a lot of times we'll converge them into one. The male gaze is a natural noticing and appreciation of feminine beauty, whereas patriarchal gaze has an energetic to it that is more subjugating, that reduces, that wants to control or own or have or possess. They're not the same. But like I said, they often get lumped together or confused one or the other. we've gotten to the place where what we call the male gaze is viewed through the lens of the patriarchal. But here's a part of the conversation that's often missing. If we are honest, women also want to be seen. We want that gaze. It feels good to be appreciated. It is natural and healthy as an experience for us to attract male attention and to be appreciated and to want to be appreciated by the masculine. The feminine has a desire to be seen. But it's complicated because there's this whole other history that has colored it. As I said before, a lot of times the male gaze has come with an experience of being controlled or owned or subjugated. And so the problem is that we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater and we've made all male attention, the male gaze, wrong. So the question I want to ask is, how can we women receive the male gaze in a way that feels good? How can we reconstruct our relationship with being looked at? And for men, how can men offer their gaze as a gift? Because it can 100% be a gift for the feminine to be seen by the masculine. For us, as women being witnessed in our beauty, when it is not turned into possession or consumption or control, can be deeply affirming. We can feel the aliveness and the spark between the feminine and the masculine as it exists in relationship, in a moment, in a passing glance, or in a time or an experience of flirtation. Because when a man can look with pure appreciation, not to get something, not to have, not to control, not to claim, but to honor her, to appreciate the gift of her presence, to appreciate the fact that she took time to bring beauty to him and to the world, then she experiences it as a gift. Let's look at the difference between the male gaze as harmful when it objectifies her without bringing and seeing all of humanity, when there's an aspect of entitlement or ownership or having, and when there isn't an element of respect. And a lot of that is subtle in the energetics, but the distinction is really important because the male gaze becomes healing when there's appreciation and gratitude for the beauty she brings. When he's attuned to her sense of safety and receptivity, when there's an implicit consent of, yes, thank you for looking at me. I want you to see me. It can be spoken or unspoken. And in that case, the gaze is offered as a gift without needing anything in return. And so when it is that experience, then it becomes a part of the natural polarity between the masculine and the feminine, part of the dance we do together, and a moment of recognition and energy and spark that uplifts us all, that enlivens us in the connection between us. So we can move past seeing the male gaze simply as a patriarchal claim, desire to own and control. We can get past our own patriarchal wounds that we've enmeshed with it. Then women can admit and feel that they want to be seen and known, that the deep, mature masculine honors the feminine. It doesn't need to own her, devour her, define her, take from her. So together, let's relearn this. Let's reconstruct our relationship with the male gaze so that men don't have to pretend they don't notice the feminine beauty, and women don't have to pretend that they don't want to be seen. Because the hot and sexy masculine likes to look, wants to appreciate the divine feminine nature and beauty that also thrives on being seen. So if this resonates, hit subscribe for more conversations on intimacy and communication, relationship, connection, sexuality, and share anything that's come up for you when listening to this conversation, because I know there are more nuances to bring and more elements that I've probably missed here. So I want to hear your take and to hear a little bit about, have you experienced the male gaze as a gift, or does it always feel negative? And if you're a man, how does it feel to grapple with your natural inclination to see her, to know her, to appreciate her, and to bring as much generosity, giftedness, freedom, and appreciation without the need, the grappling, and the desire to own and to have? I want to hear your take. Drop a comment below. And if you want to hear and watch some more videos, YouTube thinks you'll like this one. And this is the link to the Intimate Connection series. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.